that. There we are, doing really good.
Thank you. Hello everybody, how are you? Doing good?
Well, you could do better than that. Come on, come on. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, how are you?
Hey, you're doing good, that's what I like to hear. So hello, my name is Scarlette Douglas.
And my name is Stuart Douglas. Now my name is a Scottish name, right? Yeah. Stuart Douglas. But we're not Scottish. Our heritage is Jamaican. Yeah. However, we are privileged to be here, so thank you for having us.
Yes, and it's the first time that we've been to the Idol Home Show here in Glasgow, and we are loving it. We've had a few little noses around some of the stands here. We've got a bit more to do. Are you all enjoying it? Have you had a look around? Yeah? Anyone just got here? No, you've been here for a while, you just got here. There's a lot to see, there's a lot to see, it's very good.
And there's plenty to eat and drink as well.
That's my favourite part of the show, because I love some food. So yes, we very kindly were invited here to come and talk to all of you pretty much about our journey, how we got here, and just to help you all and give you advice, ideas, tips, tricks, hacks, things not to do when you're doing a renovation or a rebuild, and how to kind of stay away from, I don't want to say dodgy builders, but I'm going to say dodgy builders. How to stay away from them, how to spot dodgy builders, and also know that there are good builders out there, because we don't want to just slate builders all the time. There are some really good ones. It's just how do you find those good ones?
So first and foremost, has anybody watched any of our shows?
Yes.
Okay, good. So we have done the Flipping Fast show with George Clark.
Yeah.
Anybody watched that? Fun. Travelled all across the country for that, and it was fast-paced, hectic.
Do you know what's funny is that when you say you travel all across the country, that doesn't sound as exciting as my other two shows, A Place in the Sun and My Dream Derelict Home in the Sun, where I get to travel all across the world to sunnier climes.
Yeah,
I'm really lucky.
I've not been that fortunate. None of the shows that I've been in have In the Sun in them, not one. So I'm still trying to work that one.
Yeah, but it's okay. So I guess we might as well start from there. We'll start at the very beginning. Stuart used to be a professional footballer, and he had put his money at the time into properties, and he kind of accidentally made money through flipping properties, which he didn't really mean to do.
Oh, accidentally?
Well, you didn't set out to do that initially, did you?
Okay, I'll give you that, go on.
Thank you. You just happened to have a good eye, and you could just naturally make something a bit old and tired beautiful.
I like that.
So yeah, so basically Stuart kind of got into property by accident, so to speak, realised that he was very good at it, and he started kind of putting his money into properties. I used to do musical theatre. I'm used to being up on a stage and singing and dancing and doing jazz hands, but Stuart has said to me, you don't have a pension, so what are you going to do when you can't sing and dance anymore? You need money coming in every month. And in my head at a young age of 20, 21, 22, I'm thinking I can do jazz hands forever, I'll be totally fine. Trust me, you can't. So much so that now, at the young tender age I'm at now, I've torn my calf muscle, all because I thought I was still young and active, and turns out I'm not.
Actually, we digress. Scarlette is doing Soccer Aid in 2 weeks' time. And trying to get fit for Soccer Aid, she popped her calf.
Yeah.
Like really, really badly.
Really badly.
So if you see her walking with a limp, she's not drunk, she's not been drinking, she has actually injured her calf.
I have actually injured myself. So yeah, so doing musical theatre, I loved it, but it wasn't really giving me enough to pay a pension. I forgot to take out an equity pension. So I thought, you know what, Stuart, you're saying to me, let me help you, I'll take you under my wing and we can do property development together. Let's go for it. We've got another brother, a third brother, he's the middle one. Stuart asked him as well. He was like, absolutely not, no way am I working with you. I wish I listened to him because it would have been a much easier ride to now, but I wouldn't be where I am now.
Don't believe a word that she says. She loves working with me, and we've managed to find a middle ground where we actually work quite productively together.
Thank goodness, we got there in the end. It's only taken however many years. So it was my property expertise and background with Stuart, doing property development for ourselves and for other people, that actually got me my screen test and my role in A Place in the Sun, which is the first ever presenting job I'd done. I left musical theatre, applied for that, got the job, amazing. And I was on that show for 6.5 years. I left it, not December just gone, the December before. And then I got another show during lockdown, which was called My Dream Derelict Home in the Sun. Again, we've got the In the Sun in the titles. Basically going to Spain and France and helping people restore really old derelict buildings, whether they were maybe barns or nunneries, chapels. We've done all of these beautiful houses. And it was incredible because I also learned even more about renovating abroad, rules and regulations there, the types of materials you can and can't use in hotter climes, and it was great.
Actually, speaking of being abroad, we're not abroad here, but even when you cross the border, the rules and regulations regarding to planning and property are very different in Scotland in comparison to England. So it really does make a big difference where you are.
Absolutely, and that is something to make sure you bear in mind if you're thinking about renovating here in comparison to England and vice versa. But I was kind of sat during lockdown. I do a lot of voiceovers, and I was recording my voiceover. I'd finished, and I was trying to find something to do. I was bored, and I saw there was an advert for people that wanted to learn how to flip properties. A new TV show is coming out. Do you want to know how to flip properties? And I remember taking a snapshot, sending it to my agent, saying, do they need a presenter? Because that's what I do, and I want to do it. I really want to get involved. Really long story short, spoke to the production company, mentioned that I've got a brother. They had done research on us, saw that we've got our property company, and between myself and the executive producer at the time, agreed that actually it'd be great that Stuart came along and did a screen test with me. Now Stuart, as I'm sure you'll all get to know throughout this talk, loves to talk a lot. He likes to be centre of attention, he likes all of that. So as a presenter, that's perfect, but also he knows what he's talking about when it comes to property. That is his expertise. As well as doing football, also for a physiotherapist, he knows and enjoys property. So we did a screen test together, and we got that, which was our very first show together, Flipping Fast, George Clark's Flipping Fast. Now, that show didn't actually come out first. Love It or List It came out first. Did anyone watch Love It or List It with Phil and Kirsty? Yes. So Channel 4 did a one-off special. It was called Black to Front Day, and because they had seen, we call them the rushes. The rush is basically the footage in the edit suite. Because they'd seen the footage of Stuart and I filming Flipping Fast, they were like, well, you two would be fantastic doing Love It or List It.
As Phil and Kirsty. Now, I was actually Kirsty in the show, and Scarlette was Phil.
Yes, correct. And that show, there's a competitive element which works really well with us as siblings, because we are both super duper competitive.
I hate to lose anything. I hate it. I think from being in football, I'm very competitive, and with my siblings, even more so. So when we had the opportunity to be Phil and Kirsty, I actually didn't care who I was. I just wanted to win. So I ended up being Kirsty. Maybe I've got long hair. She hasn't got a beard, by the way. Scarlette was Phil, and I was for staying in the house. So you love it and you stay, or you list it and you leave. So Scarlette was list it and leave.
Yeah, I was list it and leave. I thought I had it. I thought this is going to be fine because I've nailed this one. I've got it. Did anybody actually watch it all the way through and see our version of the show? Right. Anyone know who won between the two of us?
Let's have a vote. Who thinks that Scarlette won? Put your hand up. Who thinks that I won? Put your hand up.
Yeah.
I was so happy.
He won.
Yeah, I won. It was my first TV show that had come on, and I won, and that was 2 years ago, and I have not stopped talking about it since.
Talks about it all the time. He would just message me here and there like, who won Love It or List It? But because that show actually rated so high on the channel that day, we then ended up getting our own show, which is Worst House on the Street, which was out last August on Channel 4. We are currently filming series 2 and 3 of the show, and we have a new show that we start filming in August, which is basically people that have properties that have been sat on the market for a while, they don't know how to sell it, we go in and help them. And then there's a competition element, again, between the two of us, where I hopefully will be winning more of those episodes than you.
No chance, no chance.
I think I've got a good chance.
No chance.
But the thing that we love about Worst House on the Street is that we really get to show people that are doing redevelopments. There are so many ways you can have a beautiful home without breaking the bank. And that's what we want to talk to you all about today, because yes, it's easy to spend loads of money and throw your cash at a property and make it look gorgeous, but it's not as easy to make it look beautiful when you don't have a huge amount of money. So how can we help you do that? And I always think you've got to start off with your builder. That is key, isn't it? Having a good builder.
It is. So, has anyone here been through a renovation? Yes. It's not easy, is it? It's hard work and it's stressful. And there are a lot of television shows that hide this. You watch television show, property show, and you see somebody get the keys to their house or start a renovation, and it's always an upward trajectory. That's not true. And we try to make shows that really reflect reality, reflect the fact that it's difficult. There are going to be ups and downs, and renovation is tough. And we've learned it. We learned the hard way. So when we first started, many years ago, I won't say how many because you'll guess my age, but many years ago when we first started, Scarlette and I, our very first project was in Barnet, in Hertfordshire.
North London,
North of
Southside
London.
North London.
Very nice Victorian flat, ground floor flat, 1 bedroom, private garden, share a freehold. Great first buy. Our parents hated it. However, they knew nothing. So we went along and we bought it. The first builder that we had wasn't great. And that was our fault because we employed someone who wasn't good enough for us.
And we didn't do enough research.
Didn't do enough research. So we got that builder out. We then got another builder in. And we thought that this builder, bearing in mind this is our first project together, we've got people to impress, we want to show others out there that we can do this as a team.
Show your mum and dad that we were right and they were wrong.
So we get this builder in who we think is great. And I remember just going to the house, the flat, to check it, making sure that progress was being made. And in the kitchen, we had recently installed a brand new kitchen with a stainless steel hob. Lovely. And there were scratches on the hob, as if somebody had like rubbed a wire brush on it.
Yeah.
So I thought it was Scarlette. I was like, Scarlette, what have you done to the hob in the kitchen? She's like, I've not been in the kitchen. I was like, you must have, because there's scratches on the hob, and the hob's brand new. It wasn't a display, it wasn't a used hob, it was a brand new hob.
Yeah.
Then we checked the oven, and the oven was used. And I was like, are you sure you've not been there, or any of your friends been into the flat? Because something doesn't make any sense. Now, we used to always tell our builder we were coming round to check and things and make sure that everything was going to plan. So we said, let's just turn up. We had keys, it was our flat. This is a true story, by the way, our first development together. We turn up, open the door, go into the bedroom, our builder is laying on a blow-up bed with his partner, his missus, living in our flat, as if it were his.
Yeah.
So he'd been using the fridge, cooking in the oven.
We didn't even get any of the food, by the way.
We didn't eat anything there. And trying to clean it, to make it clean and unnoticeable, they'd obviously scratched the hob. So, cut a long story short, we got him out.
Yes.
Finally got a builder in that could finish the job. But that was our mistake, because we were the ones that employed him. Now, not all builders, I don't want to, because builders do get tarnished with the same brush, as do estate agents, as do anyone else. If people think, oh, they're parasites, or they're difficult, whatever, they're not all. And also, as a client, which you may well be, if you're starting a renovation, clients can also be difficult. So it has to be fair both ways. But in this instance, we had a builder living in our house, in our flat, and that's just not on. So he went out. We did make money on that particular apartment. It went really well, and it was a learning process. But if anyone's going to start a renovation, there are some key things to consider and make sure that you do before anything gets started.
Yes, and that would be find a good builder. How easy is it to find a good builder? It's not that easy, but as long as you want to actually get a good product and done well, you're going to put in the time and effort to try and find a good builder. So you can go on websites like, even on social media, Facebook, you can go on mybuilder.com, you can go on the Nextdoor app. There are loads of places you can go to find out information on builders. You can even walk up and down your street and see if there's anyone that's doing renovation, have a little knock on the door. Would you mind if I had a look at how your property is progressing, how it looks, something that maybe I would want from this builder, and speak to them, have a discussion with them. Do you get a good feel from them, a good vibe from them? Maybe you can speak to 3 different builders and get kind of an average quote of the 3, knowing that the cheapest isn't always the best, by the way, because sometimes you pay cheap, you pay twice. And then you can kind of go from there and choose your builder. It's all about doing your due diligence. When that gentleman moved into our property, it was only our fault because we weren't project managing enough. We weren't keeping an eye on what was going on. I've got a property now that I bought in June 2021, and the builder, I had done my work. I had gone and seen some of his work that he'd done. I'd spoken to other people. Yeah, he's great, he turns up on time, he gets the job done, fantastic. But whilst he was doing the renovation, I was away filming A Place in the Sun and My Dream Derelict Home in the Sun, so I wasn't in the UK enough, so I was trying to project manage from abroad. My mum and dad lived around the corner, they were helping here and there.
In the sun, basically.
I was in the sun.
Right.
I was somewhere in the sun.
Yeah.
But my builder, as far as I knew, who was doing the works, yeah, when you come back, the kitchen will be in, and I'd fly back, the kitchen's not in. What happened? Oh, there's been a bit of a delay, but when you're back next time, it'll be done. Really long story short, and I will have to take this one on the chin. He went away for Christmas, December 2021. Now, he started the building works at my place July 2021, and granted, I did need him to renovate a flat that I was renting out to a tenant, so he went there. My mum and dad then really liked his work. He then redid their bathroom and toilet. Great, fantastic, everyone's happy, except for me, because my house still wasn't done. Can you get this done before you go to Jamaica? Do you know what? I can't finish all of it, he said. I know there's a big snag list, we've got bits to do in the kitchen, but when I'm back in January 2022, I'll finish it. Fine, nothing's really happening over Christmas and the New Year anyway. We are now May 2023 and he's still in Jamaica.
And we've been doing this a long time, and it just goes to show that whenever you try to minimise risk, there is always risk, right?
Always.
So the builder that I work with now, I work with a builder, I've been working with my builder for the last 10 years. And I always tell this story because it's true. My builder lies to me. Every day, he'll lie. But I swallow it and I suffer it because his workmanship is spot on. And I know that the final product will be exactly what I want. And when I say he lies, he'll tell me he's going to be on site at 9 o'clock. And I know that he won't be. And I'll look him in his eyes and say, are you going to be here? And he'll look me back as if we're in love. And he'll say, yes, Stuart, I will be there at 9. And he'll turn up at 11. But he does it all the time. I allow him it because we have a working relationship and I understand. And he will make up the time at the end of the day. But that's my relationship with him. Yeah. If I find a new builder, he hasn't got that luxury because I don't know him. And one thing that I will say to all of you, before you pick up a tool or before you instruct your builder to start work, always get a schedule of work. And I know it sounds simple, but even in the shows that we film real people renovating their own homes.
With real money, that's their money.
It's their money, their hard-earned money. And recently, we were doing a house in London, filming. It was a mother and daughter renovating their house. And it's the daughter's first house. She paid the builder half of the money up front.
He hadn't
but didn't know what she was getting for it. So I was like, okay, you've paid the half the money up front, so what does that cover? And she looked at me as if I was speaking another language. And I was like, do you want me to say that slower? Like, what does that cover? And she's like, I don't know. So then I said, well, if you don't know, why did you give your builder that amount of money? And she said, because that's what he asked for. And I was like, but because he asked for it, doesn't mean that you have to give it to him. You have to have a schedule of work. So now, when the build is continuing and there is no schedule, we are running out of time and they may run out of money because they've paid too much money up front. So what I will always say is this, and it's just very simple. You are, if you're going to do any renovation, you are the client. So what you say go. And if you cannot find a tradesman or a professional or a builder or a contractor, whoever it may be, that can give you what you want, then you look elsewhere until you find that. Before anything starts, always sit down with that person. I say builder because I generally work with builders, but contractor, tradesman, sit down with them and your plan, your vision, first of all, ask them, can they produce what you want? That's the first question. If they can, great. The next step is, how long do you think it will take to deliver what I want? Don't give them a time. Let them give you a time, because it's then on them. They are the ones that have said it. So if they say, for argument's sake, we can give you a new kitchen and a new bathroom in 8 weeks, great, you said that. So in each now, what we're going to do is, we're going to section it off into 2-week blocks. So for the first 2 weeks, what do you expect to be done? Next 4 weeks, 6 weeks, and 8 weeks. So that we all know that every fortnight, we have a schedule, we know what needs to be done. And then agree with that person that once that schedule is met, we will pay you X amount. And that's whatever you agree. Because that way, if the work isn't done, you don't pay the money. Now, me being up here and saying it sounds very simple, but people don't do that. People just listen to the builder and think, oh, okay, I'll do what they say. But then you get stung. And if you get stung, whose fault is it? It's your own. On the flip side, if a contractor or builder does the work to your expectation and of the standard that you want, it's down to you to pay him. You can't then hold money back, so it works both ways. And there are two things that I will always say to any client to try and make the journey as smooth as possible. It's communication and not confrontation. If you can communicate with your tradesmen or the people that you're working with, and everyone's got an understanding of what's expected, there's likely to be no confrontation. The minute there's confrontation, that's when you'll come into problems. And because it's your own house, we all get super emotional, right? It's our house, it's where we want to be. And you have to sometimes take emotion out of the equation, be rational, and think, right, what is the best way to get the outcome that not just we want, what everyone wants. And the best way is, before anything started, schedule of work, schedule of payment, a full plan so that everyone knows what's expected.
Yeah, and that is super important. Finding a good builder, then working out how well you're going to work together, what that schedule of works will be, and then moving forward to actually renovating your property, which is the most exciting part. Is anybody actually renovating their property at the moment? Yeah. Anybody maybe renting somewhere and thinking about wanting to do that up as well? Because that's another thing that you can do. If you're renting somewhere, you can still make it beautiful, you can still make it a home. You might have to get permission from your landlord, but just soft furnishings, bits of extra colour, wallpaper, paint, photo frames, just anything that's going to make it more homely for you, you can do, and you can do that without breaking the bank as well, not spending a huge amount of money. Upcycling, brilliant. If you've got an extra few hours, buy something old, recycle it, upcycle it. We are so hot on making sure things are eco-friendly and making sure sustainability is kind of at the forefront of everything that we do. How can we do that? We can look at old furniture that was being made really, really well all those years ago, that maybe just needs to be brought into the 21st century. Those are little things that you can think of doing as well. And small things. Well, actually, no, these aren't even small things. When we were talking on Worst House on the Street, one of the shows, the first episode, I think it was, with Harry and Yumika from Croydon, a kitchen. We know that kitchen can add a lot of value to your property. It can add around 10% of the value of your property on top. We know that average kitchen price is around £10,000, but also that depends on the size of your kitchen. There are so many ways of getting a beautiful kitchen without having to spend so much, and I always like to relate things to sunnier climes. We think of a holiday, a package holiday. You go somewhere where everyone's done everything for you, or it could potentially be cheaper if you look for your own flights, and if you look for your own hotel, you look for your own activities to do. It's the same with a kitchen. If you were to then go to a kitchen company on the high street, they might try and sell you everything in one go. The kitchen, the carcasses, the doors, the appliances, all of this. And it's going to rack up because they're going to pretty much upmark their prices. But what you could do is maybe get a carcass from a high street shop and then go somewhere else for the doors, and then somewhere else to get your appliances, and a stonemason to get your worktop. That, I guarantee you, yes, it's going to take a lot more time, but it's actually going to save you quite a bit of money. And that's what we are here to do. We are here to give you that wow factor without breaking the bank.
Yeah. Especially now with the, listen, we all know about the cost of living. Yeah. We all know that, and if you don't know, I'll tell you, materials, you might know this because you're doing renovation, materials now have gone through the roof. And it's difficult because during COVID, I don't like to keep going back to those times, but during COVID, there was a lot of tradesmen, a lot of builders that couldn't work and lost a lot of money. Now that they are working, but materials are obviously more expensive, they're having to increase their prices. So any renovation that you do now is a lot more expensive than what it would have been 18 months ago, for sure. So it's how can you still achieve the look and the finish that you want without blowing the budget? Because anyone can throw money at property if you have it, and you'll have exactly what you want. But that's not what we do. What we try to do and what we try to achieve, what we have achieved, we create great houses that look as if we spent a lot more money than what we have. And don't get me wrong, we do not compromise on the quality, and we do not compromise on the standard of finish. We just hunt and search for deals and for bargains. As Scarlette said, vintage furniture was built to last forever in comparison to some of the furniture that you buy now. And you can easily upscale and make an old piece of furniture look modern and look great and look very expensive at a fraction of the cost. Scarlette was saying about kitchens. I've got a kitchen company that I always go to. I only ever buy my kitchen there. I have a stonemason who I go to for my worktops. But I know full well that that cost of kitchen and worktop, if I were to go to a store that I got them both from, would be nearly double what I pay for it. but I've still got the quality and the end product, which is very high, which I want. And when I've got friends and family who come round to my house and they think that my kitchen is a £40,000 kitchen when it's only £20,000, I don't say anything. I just say, yeah, who wants a glass of wine? Let's toast to that, because it's being clever with your money. What we also do, and I implore you all to do, is before any work even starts, always get 3 quotes. It's the power of 3. Get 3 quotes for anything. If you've got a small tiling job, get 3 quotes. If you've got a big kitchen renovation, get 3 quotes. Always get 3 quotes for work. And as Scarlette said, don't always go for the cheapest, because if you do and something goes wrong, you will pay twice to get it rectified. So do your research, get quotes, be diligent, because ultimately it's down to you guys to make the right decisions. And we've made mistakes in our time. I don't care. Anyone can come up here and pretend that they haven't. Everyone does. And the pathway is never smooth. But what we've learned a strategy to make sure that we minimise any mistakes now.
Yeah. And we've worked out our strengths as well. We've worked together as a duo. I know that I'm stronger at the interior design side of things. Stuart's better at working with an architect. How can you maybe redesign a property? How can you get the best space for the floor plan that's there? And we know how to work well together. I know I'm quite good at project managing, but Stuart's better, so it's going to be down to him. I know I'm quite hands-on. I like to help with the tiling. I like to get stuck in the garden. He doesn't like to get his hands dirty at all.
I've got soft hands.
They're terrible hands. But we know how we can work together. So work out what your strengths are. What do you need your builder for? What do you maybe need an interior designer for? Can you visualize and create exactly what it is yourself? Or do you need to hire someone that can come in and alleviate that stress from you so that actually they can worry about it and they can do it themselves as well?
And we don't just do renovations. Even if you want to sell your home,
yes,
there are ways in which you can make your home more appealing to buyers.
Yeah.
And we always say, first and foremost, declutter.
Declutter.
Declutter. My parents, I think they've still got things in that house from when I was 3, and they don't like to throw anything out. And I always say, well, if you've not used it for 2 weeks, you're probably not going to use it.
Whoa, 2 weeks.
That's what
maybe
I say,
2 years.
I don't
2
like to
weeks.
keep things.
That's wasteful.
That's harsh, right?
That's wasteful.
That's harsh, but I need to get them to declutter their house. So I've got to scare them somehow. But definitely declutter. Don't be afraid to use colour.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to put your own personality into your house. You can do too much and be a bit too garish, which is what Scarlette used to do at the very beginning.
Whoa. There was only one instance where that happened. In the very first property that our builder moved into, I wanted a feature chair. You know, you have like a feature wall or a feature something. I wanted a really nice feature chair, and it was a high heel chair. So it was like a leather. You got the base, and then it goes up at the back, and then you got the heel.
How tall was it?
This was about 2 meters.
Maybe Stuart's height.
No, it was taller than me.
Oh.
It wasn't that much
let's
bigger.
put the vote to the floor.
Ludicrous.
In your house now, wherever you all live, would anyone like a 2 meter high stiletto heel chair
Thanks,
in their
MC.
house?
Yes, at the back.
At the back,
Yeah,
one.
very clear
But can
words.
we just confirm, who wouldn't want one in their house? Hands up.
But
Okay,
no,
thank
hang
you.
on, they've not seen it.
They don't
They've
need
not
to.
seen
They don't need to see it.
It was beautiful. And it came in different colours and materials. There was like a zebra print and a leopard print. I was just going for a black, sleek black. He said no.
Did we get it? Did we get it?
We didn't get it. I tried my hardest. I even called my mum. I was like, Mummy's not letting me have the shoe.
That's actually true. Scarlette called mum. Okay, in our house, and we digress, but I'll tell you anyway. Our mum wears the trousers in our house. So Scarlette called mum. Mum then calls me and tells me off.
Yeah.
Now, when mum tells you off, there's nothing that you can do apart from say, yes, mum, and just listen. So I managed to pacify the situation, and we didn't get the chair, but it was hard work.
I did get a different chair though. That
That was in the garden.
He did make me put it in the garden. He did.
What would you have instead, Stuart? Like 2 big lions?
No,
like marble tigers?
I'm more of a sophisticated like statement chair that you can sit on and cross your leg with a nice glass of red.
That's
But you could do that. You could do that on the heel chair though. That was
Not
the
without
thing.
falling off, no.
But anyway, yeah, so there are lots of ways you can get a beautiful place. Like Stuart said, if you're selling your property, declutter. Maybe just get a lick of paint on the walls. Soft furnishings. Maybe move things in just for the viewings, then move them back out again. Just make your house as appealing as possible. And yes, curb appeal is a thing. If someone is walking up to your property and it looks nice and it looks pretty, they're more likely to want to go in. You have to take yourself out of your own property and think, if I was someone viewing this property to buy, what would I not like about this and what would I want to see? And try and then implement that into your property.
Brilliant stuff. Has anyone got any questions for Scarlette and Stuart? Pop your hand up.
Don't be shy, you can ask anything you want, anything.
You can ask where the suit's from if you want. It's Zara. It's a Zara special.
It's nice.
Thank you very much. They've got many colours. I think I have all of them.
Many colours?
Yeah.
And you're sponsored by Zara?
I wish I was. Actually, if you're here, Zara, we'd like to be sponsored by you, please.
What are you doing for your renovation?
Oh, an Edwardian property. Oh, traditional.
5 double-bedroom Edwardian. It's 2 flats, so we're turning into one.
Back into one house.
Yeah.
Have you started the work?
Yeah, I've started the work.
How's it going?
Well, the whole roof's come off, the new roof's gone, so we've gone for the rosewood tile roof and everything, yeah, so we're keeping all the integrity of that.
I was going to say, you're keeping some of the traditional features and that character.
The visual stone floors and
Where is it?
It's in St Anne's.
Oh, nice.
I want to buy there.
Yeah.
I want to buy in Lytham. I've got friends who bought in Lytham.
Yeah.
Really nice place. In between Fleetwood and Blackpool, right?
Well, it's the other side. It's in between Blackpool and Preston.
Blackpool, Preston. So yeah, I really like Lytham. I think Tyson Fury lives that way. I think.
He does. Yeah, he lives in Morecambe. Yeah.
Morecambe.
Wow.
Costa del Morecambe. Do you remember Harriet on Flipping Fast? She got a place in Morecambe. Yeah.
I really like it there. When your house is finished, I might buy your house.
You won't be able to afford it. It sounds expensive. Good luck with it all. Yeah.
Any thoughts? I wanted to ask you. So I hate negotiating, right? So we got our kitchen done, phone up the builder. Can you negotiate with everybody?
Yes.
What should I be asking for off? Because I get the feeling I take the mickey sometimes, or I don't ask for enough. Like what's?
Okay, so for
can
me,
I just say really quickly? Sorry, I used to hate negotiating. Then I did a place in the sun. You know, the end you have to call the estate agent, which is actually a real call. And like, let's say the property's on for I don't know 200 grand, and then my house hunter's like, we want to put in an offer of 100 grand. And I'm thinking, how am I supposed to get it for you 100 grand cheaper? And I actually got used to the kind of haggling and the banter of actually trying to negotiate. And now I love it. I negotiate for everything.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, sure.
No, I was just saying, what is the worst that can happen? They say no, and you're in the same place that you were at the beginning. So be as cheeky as you want.
Yeah.
Because somebody might surprise you and say, actually, yeah. Because you don't know what someone's circumstance is. They may need to sell, or the kitchen company might need to sell one more kitchen to get their quota, to get a bonus from the manufacturer. So you never know the situation of the person involved. So always ask. If they say, well, no, we can't do that, the likelihood is that they'll say, but we can do this. So start high. Try and get as much off as you possibly can.
Yeah.
And if it feels uncomfortable, learn to get used to that. Because over time, you'll get more wins than losses, and you will save a lot of money.
Lovely. It's funny you mentioned Place in the Sun. Danny Menzies was in London show.
Yes.
She got herself locked in a toilet.
Oh my
You've never done that to yourself.
I have been locked in a toilet before, but not on the show. So Danny was filming an episode, and I remember watching her Instagram stories. I think they were in a house, and she was supposed to be looking around it, and she got locked in the toilet. And they had to wait for ages for someone to come and let her out. We did have a camera guy got stuck. We went for lunch on a show, and he got stuck in a toilet. We're in Torrevieja, and it was like the longest lunch ever. I was like, listen, you can stay in there all day if you want, and we had to somehow get him out. It was quite funny, but I, thank goodness, touch wood, have never been stuck in a toilet.
You've got the skills not to get locked in a toilet.
Exactly.
She was like, there was like a wine rack in there, so she could have.
Oh, she was having a great time.
Lived off that. Yeah. Any other questions, Tola, thoughts?
Oh yes, got a question at the time.
Hello.
Hi. All your programmes seem to be always centred around London, down south, and
yes,
the budgets are generally a lot more than maybe people would have in Scotland.
Correct. Yeah.
So I challenge you to come to mine.
Do you know what? We actually really want to come up here, so we just go where people apply from. So you guys need to apply, because we keep saying we want to come up to Scotland. We've not done a property up here yet. So as soon as we know when the next show is out, you can follow us on our socials and then just apply, and we'll come and help you for sure.
We will happily come to your house.
Yeah, definitely we will.
You know, it's funny because Phil and Kirsty, obviously, they're production companies
up here,
based in Glasgow.
Productions, yeah, it's based in
I don't think anyone knows that. So
yeah,
you got to apply. You got to
apply. You've got to be in it to win it.
Exactly. If you don't apply, we can't come. So please, if you fancy being on any of our shows, we're currently filming the second and third series of Worst House on the Street. The second series
2 airs July 12th.
July the 12th it comes out.
Yeah.
And then we start out a new series, which is more of a competition element between Scarlette and myself, which I'm really looking forward to.
As we said, I'm going to be winning most of.
I really hope I whitewash her.
Is it like a fight in the car park or something?
Well, no, basically the premise is if you're selling your homes, if any of you are selling your home and you can't sell it, we are going to help those who cannot sell. So Scarlette will help, I will help, and then one of us will win. So we start filming that one in August. And then we are also, you catch us on a podcast.
Property Unlocked. So you can listen to that on all property platforms, podcast platforms, whether it's Spotify, Amazon, wherever else, Apple, wherever you listen to your podcast. And it's basically speaking to experts and those people that are novices as well about property and how to get into it, whether it's renovating, whether it's flipping, whether it's buy-to-let, service departments, whatever it is that you might want to do. We talk about all of it. Yeah.
Any other thoughts at all? Put your hands up. I tell you, I mean, because you were in totally different careers before as well, so that's something, if you want to get into property, because you were in the West End, you were a footballer, I mean, did you find that relatively easy? Was it difficult?
It's quite funny because I think that everybody needs a mentor, or everybody needs someone to help them when they start their journey. So when I played football, one of the directors of the club, he was into property, that's how he made his money. So I used to be a sponge and just take information from him. And when I bought my first house, I didn't know where to live, and he advised me to buy in St Albans, which is in Hertfordshire. And I remember I had to pay, I was fortunate enough that when I played football, I was able to save enough money to pay a deposit to get a house when I was 21. So I was truly blessed and fortunate, and I'd done that. And I remember when I paid my deposit money over, I was shaking, because I'd never given that amount of money away in one lump sum before. But it was my mentor that said, Stuart, do this, it's a great investment and you will not lose money. And as Scarlette said before, I had that house for 5 years. And when I sold it, it had increased in value by £140,000. And I didn't actually do anything apart from renovate it for me to live in. It was never meant to be an investment where I had a financial gain. It was just do not lose money. So that was, for me, that was the watershed moment where I thought, oh, maybe I can do this. So every time I transfer to another club, I try and buy a house and try and build up a portfolio. And that's when my passion for property started.
It's funny because my parents are from Dunfermline, which is the East Coast. They've got a flat there, which is on the East Coast of Scotland. And I guess their generation was quite lucky because they bought the house. And back in the 70s when they bought the house, it wasn't really as much as it is now to your salary, right? So they managed to pay their mortgage off. It's still possible to buy houses, but you've got to be quite savvy about it and save a lot, I guess, right?
Yeah, and I guess, if I'm honest, I don't really know the market up here as much as I know it down in London.
Sure.
But you've got to really look at figures and look at affordability. That's something that Stuart and I say is key. Anytime you're going to buy, renovate, rent, whatever, can you afford to do it? If something goes wrong, like what happened with COVID, can you still afford to keep up your payments, whether that is your rent or whether that is your mortgage? What are the interest rates saying? We know the interest rates have changed a lot over the last kind of 18 months and they will continue to change. Will you be able to afford your property? That's super important.
Yeah, completely. That's a big issue, isn't it? Any other questions at all? I think you're back with us later on as well, right? 4 o'clock?
4 o'clock, yeah.
4 o'clock, we'll be back.
In terms of sort of getting that first rung on the ladder and so on as well, like, what's the situation with sort of 90% mortgages and that sort of stuff? Are they still around?
It depends on your loan to value. So different mortgage companies will give you different products, and certain products might need a 10% deposit, 15% deposit, 20% deposit. But the more money you put down, the better the rate will be that you'll get. There are schemes like first time buyer scheme or
Skipton's have got a new product now, 100% mortgages if you're a first-time buyer, so you actually don't have to put anything down, but just make sure you read all the information because sometimes there are some loopholes. But that is great for first-time buyers because we've not had a product like that in years.
Also,
and hopefully more
I think there's
will be doing
criteria
it.
to meet for that. But speak to a mortgage advisor. I always say, whether it's through the estate agent or an independent mortgage advisor, like, educate yourselves, do your research, because there may be a product out there that works for you. And if you're buying, and speaking of buying, I always say, work out what the rental value of the property is. Because even if you have no intention of renting, sometimes you come into difficult periods of your life, whether you're made redundant, whether you fall ill, and for one reason or another, you may not be able to afford the mortgage repayments. So you need to know that if you can't, your house is still an asset that you can rent. So if your mortgage is, for ease of numbers, £1,000 a month, but your rent you can achieve is £1,200 a month, then you know full well that if I do come into difficult times, I can rent my house and it will still cover the mortgage. If you want to buy a house, but the rental amount is £700 a month, but your mortgage is £1,000 a month, then think carefully. Nobody wants to think worst case scenario, but when the market is as it is, and the financial climate is what it is, you have to think worst case scenario. So when you're buying, always think about the rental amount as well.
And just quickly, the market in Scotland, it always used to be, I always used to think that it was kind of better than in England, because in England there was the chance of being gazumped for a house. You never really had that in Scotland. I think maybe it's unfortunately changing a bit now in Scotland, would that be fair to say? But that's an issue as well, isn't it? In England, when you're buying a house, it just seems to take an absolute age, even more than in Scotland.
And it's not always about the person that has the mortgage ready and that can afford a house. I think that for me in particular, if I want to buy somewhere, then I have to also have a story that goes with it. So if I'm buying for myself, I want the owner to know that I have children. My children are intending to go to this school, which is near the house. This is my job, this is what I do. So you paint a picture of you and how you want to live in the house, because like I said, property is emotional, and there might be me and somebody else who have both got mortgages, who have both offered the same amount of money for this house, but the owner takes to me because I've given them my story and I've given them a reason as to why I want to live here. If I'm buying as an investment, you can still give a story. You can be honest and say, this is a great area, I want to buy it because I know that I'll be able to rent it to a family and help a family get onto the market. Whatever it is, make sure that you don't just give an offer, but tell a story so that people can buy into you. And if you want to give yourself an edge over somebody else, they're the little things that you need to do.
I've never thought about that. I've only bought twice, but I always think of it as like a faceless monolith of the estate agent you're talking to. You don't think about the person you're buying it from.
Exactly. And even when we put an offer in for a property, we make sure we write down everything that we need or that they will need to hopefully help us then potentially get the property. Whether it is, this is who our mortgage broker is, this is exactly how much we've got, this is where we stand, blah, 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 blah. So they can just see everything they need to see without having to ask any extra questions. Yeah.
Any final thoughts before we let them explore the Eat and Drink Festival?
Yes, please.
Scarlette and Stuart are back with us at 4 PM. Ladies and gentlemen, brilliant. Scarlette and Stuart Douglas!
Thank you. Enjoy the rest
Thank you very much.
Absolutely terrific. Back at 4 PM as well. So get your questions ready for them if you want to have a little chat to them about anything house, home related, interior design, etc. And they're very approachable. They're terrific. You can't tell they're brother and sister. I love the way they snipe at each other over stuff as well. It's terrific. All right, so we're going to be back here at the Super Theatre stage, sponsored by the bathroom company Glasgow. In about 15 minutes' time, we've got Lee Connolly, the erstwhile Blue Peter gardener, who's spoken in the House of Lords about gardening and horticulture for kids. He's going to be doing some extreme gardening at 3 o'clock, sending tomatoes into space, apparently. So it's well worth watching. We'll be back here at the Super Theatre stage in 15 minutes' time. See you later.